Welcome to the FounderVideo podcast, an interview series bringing you the latest and greatest info on B2B marketing, revenue operations, and go-to-market strategy from respected experts. Here is your host, Will Martin.
All right, so we are here for the 22nd episode of the FounderVideo podcast. Today we have Emir Atli, CRO at HockeyStack and co-founder, part of the founding team, because I think it's 4, right, founders?
3 co-founders.
Three co-founders, that's right. I wanted to mention this before starting because I first knew about you through the podcast with Jared Robin, Revenue Today, and I found your story really inspiring, really interesting. And then I learned more and more about HockeyStack. I knew about you guys like a year ago, literally, a little bit more than that. And when I learned about HockeyStack, the product, how it was changing the ecosystem, you guys' strategy on LinkedIn, everything, I was like, damn, really interesting case. So really happy to have you and welcome.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to share about
Nice.
all things.
Good stuff. Yeah, we'll touch first on your background and whatnot, and then we'll get into attribution, HockeyStack, etc. So for starters, right? Like, who is Emir Atli? Your background, like, how did you go from finishing high school in Turkey to making it into Williams College, which is, some people say it's sort of an Ivy League, to then dropping out to build HockeyStack?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Turkey. I grew up in a happy middle-class family. Nothing extraordinary there. Just 2 parents, myself. And then I went to German high school in Turkey, learned German. And then I got into Williams in Massachusetts, as you said, one of the top colleges in the US. I met one of my co-founders, Bura, about 10 years ago. He is a great developer. He learned to code by himself when he was 6. The way that we met was he was teaching me how to code. And then very early days, I realized that it's not for me. It's not going to work. And it's better like if I do something else, not code. So then we thought about like how it would be if like you code, you build products, and I sell. So then we started building a lot of stuff. He was building, I was selling, and then we made a lot of money with it. We were doing like social media apps. When crypto was really hot, we made a product about that. We were doing all sorts of things, just building stuff and shipping. And then one of the products that we built was a social media app. So the social media app was super successful. It was getting thousands of users every day, but then we were losing thousands the next day because we didn't know the retention and what retention means and then how to retain users. It was more like, let's get as many users as possible, give them the app, and then see what happens. Then Bura built a small dashboard for us to understand retention and basically understand what people are doing within our app. Then we thought if this is our problem, it's probably the problem for a lot of people as well. We went out. Long story short, it didn't work because there are a lot of products like Mixpanel, Heap, Amplitude that are the best in class. Product analytics is further away from attribution, marketing, sales tech. It's a category that's been established many years ago. Products are incredible. Many of them are public or got acquired. So then we thought this is like not going to work, but we have a product that we built. So it's great. Like the product works, but it's like we cannot compete with an Amplitude. So we thought, what can we do with the product? Then we turned into Google Analytics alternative. The same product that we track product data, you can put the same script into your website, then we track website data. So then Google Analytics is free. We do some stuff better, like journeys and stuff like that are better. So we made it like $10, $15 a month. And we basically made about $500,000 in 4 months with SMB companies, like agencies, e-commerce businesses. They like loved it so much. It's like $15 a month. You can get it. And it's better than Google Analytics. It's like, there's nothing better than that. So then we thought it's not going to scale because $15 a month is crazy fun. You can make a lot of money, but it's not what we want to do. So then we decided to talk to SaaS people. It's like an audience that we never talked to before. We were mainly in like e-commerce and agencies. They're similar to SaaS in ways that they think about stuff, but it's not the same. We talked to SaaS, and then they always were mentioned. We didn't have any integrations, so we didn't have like Salesforce, HubSpot, Marketo. We have like over 30 integrations right now. We had 0 back then. One of our prospects, earliest prospects that we reached out to on LinkedIn said, if you build Salesforce, HubSpot integrations, and then build a dashboard for me to see what works, what doesn't work in terms of channel sources and campaigns, I would buy it. So we built it in a couple of days. Then she ghosted us. So we thought, like, she ghosted us, but still, like, if she's interested in it, was a company with like 100 employees, we thought there are probably hundreds of SaaS companies that might be interested. So then me and Bura started posting on LinkedIn every single day, twice a day for 6 months. And then we started reaching out to people on LinkedIn and then started like doing discovery calls and stuff like that to understand what's the problem here. We kind of have a sense of the problem, but then by talking to we talked to 500 people over 6-7 months while building the product. We got so much feedback, and then we launched the product. First 15 of our customers came from my profile and Bura's profiles. So people that have been following us, and then we reached out to them. Then December 2022, we moved to San Francisco, dropped out of school, and we got into San Francisco with like 10, 15 customers. 1 month after that, we cold emailed a partner at YC to meet. He replied. We met in Palo Alto. He became our first angel investor, who also sold his company to Microsoft for like a couple $100 million. That was a data product too. Then after that, we got into YC as the first company in the batch of summer 2023 last year. Then we did YC. It was super successful.
Good stuff. Just curious, how old were you? What year was this when you guys built the social app that had that dashboard that you then turned into HockeyStack?
Oh, that was a long time ago. Probably like 17. A long time ago. Yeah, 5-6 years ago.
Damn, you're now 20...
I'm 22.
22. So you're my age, literally. You're my age. That's crazy. And what made you so relentless? Because I guess, the SaaS space is not easy. Marketing and sales is not easy. Like, what you guys built was a challenge. I mean, it's been a problem for a minute, knowing what worked, what doesn't, especially given how complex the buyer's journeys are these days. When you saw that problem, you saw that opportunity because one prospect told you like, hey, if you integrate with CRM and ads and everything, I'll buy. What made you like, okay, this is the way and we're not stopping anywhere until we make it?
Yeah, because right after that prospect, as I mentioned, we probably spoke to like over 500 people in a span of 5-6 months. And every single person was mentioning the same problem, which we still hear about it every single day from like dozens of companies. And because we started in product analytics, which is a much harder category, we built technology better than others. So when you think about like a Visible, Full Circle, or like newer ones like Dream Data, I don't know, like companies like that. So like first, Full Circle, Visible is very similar to Dream Data in the sense that they track the data like a marketing technology company would do. We track the data. Our core technology is based on how we track product data, which is much more complex than marketing analytics, which means we are tracking more data in a more accurate way because they rely on like lead object properties and fields from Salesforce and stuff like that. Miss out on a lot of buyer journey stuff because our technology is built on product analytics. We can see the entire buyer journey because we don't rely on like a field lead object stuff that doesn't exist in product analytics. So that gave us a massive advantage from the very early days. And we thought if we double down on this, shake things up in this category, then we can get into other categories. So we thought attribution. So for example, if you think about like an ABM platform, they first started from like intent, ABM, display, and then they got back to reporting. They report on ABM. But you cannot build what HockeyStack built if you start from ABM. So what we did is if you focus on reporting, if you become like the center of the tech stack, the brain of the tech stack, then we can get into ABM. Then we can get into sales intelligence. Then we can get into actioning the data because we already have the data from buyer journeys. That's like the biggest problem that I saw was ABM, it says 95 intent score because they don't have access to the buyer journey. Nobody believes in that intent score because you cannot click on it to see the buyer journey. So if we have the buyer journey, then we can do anything. So that gave us the advantage. And from the very early days, we thought the way to make this work is making the tracking and visualization technology better than anyone else, and then focusing on other things that we're doing right now. So I think it was a mix of frustration from the market, technology advancements, and then just like ability to scale in any other way that we want once we make it successful. those three things. And then, of course, I'm forever grateful for the community at YC and our investors and our partners and early advisors, and also the early team members that we still have that support us with everything else and still working really hard.
Of course, like also seeing that there was a market for this, that a lot of people wanted it, and that you had, you early on you managed to earn the support. It's not that you had it,
Yeah.
of course, and that also made it way more real. Like, okay, this like works, and we have something here. Damn, this was all coded by Bura, your co-founder, now CEO.
Bura and our CTO are that built the V1. Then we hired one of our first engineers, Santiago. Santiago was Chili Piper's CTO. We hired Santiago and then like built the engineering team. But yeah, V1 was Arda and Bura, are my co-founders.
Wow, that's insane. Okay, when you decided you needed to raise, you had partners and everything, but there's a lot of things that you need to learn in order to raise VC and then to manage that money and to do it properly as you've done. So, and then in that process of doing so, not only how you learned it, but also what did you learn? What were the most important lessons that getting into that world, so to speak, taught you?
Yeah. So for, as you also said, YC is harder than Harvard to get into. It is less than 1%. Then they give you a lot of resources and network. So once we got into YC, everything got easier. Then seed was easier. Series A wasn't that easy because of it was still easier because we had a lot of traction, but it's not because of YC. Anyways, we got into YC. I think that helped a lot. Two, I think people have this misconception about like experience and all that stuff. It makes sense, but the best companies that we know right now are built by first-time founders. Most of the fastest growing, really successful startups are built by first-time founders. So I always had that in the back of my mind together with our partners and earliest advisors and investors, that what makes a company really successful is first principles, thinking about everything from first principles, and then basically working harder than anyone else. We worked harder than anyone else. We learned the space better than anyone else. We learned what customers need, customers want, how they are using the product better than anyone else, and then that impressed everyone. So like our largest three contracts, they're my contracts. All of those three contracts in total, they're probably more than 500K. Those three contracts, I basically closed them in person, and I told those CMOs our story. Basically said, hey, I know you're paying more than $100,000, and I know these are like companies that are public. I know that your CEO, your CFO will use this product. I want you to know we built this product ourselves straight out of college, and I know you will pay $150,000, $160,000, and yeah, it's what we built. And they actually trusted me the same way that VCs trusted us, because everyone knows we work harder than anyone else and the product is better than anyone else. So it's like building a technology that's better than anyone else. That's the first part. Hiring people that are so talented, and then scaling the business. That some part of it requires experience that you can also replicate with like having great advisors that I have been really lucky to have. But that most of it is, how can you build a better technology? How can you hire the best talent and just like scale? That's what we did.
This podcast is brought to you by FounderVideo. We'll cut your LinkedIn ads costs by at least 50% with natural-looking creatives that prospects actually want to consume. Just have an expert in your C-suite show up to a 90-minute interview once a month and let us take care of the rest. Turn LinkedIn ads from an accepted line item expense into a scalable revenue channel that fits into your go-to-market strategy. Book a free consultation at foundervideo.io.
You said something that is really accurate and I think doesn't have enough light. Like most people forget about that fact when they analyze or scrutinize a young founder, is that the fact that most of the most valued and highest growth companies are founded by first-time founders. Why? Because nobody else has that much incentive and drive, I think, and consistency. It's a lot of factors that I think it's more likely to happen with a first-time founder. I don't know if you have anything to say to that.
Yeah, like I see Zoom info on my screen via Zoom info customer, Zoom info's founder, founded Zoom info in college, founder mode from Paul Graham a couple of days ago. He wrote an article about Airbnb, Brian Cheskin, his co-founders, Airbnb's founders, the first-time founders. The famous example is Facebook. And like most of the products that we use are built by first-time founders. So I wrote a post about it that went semi-viral about it. I was on a stage with a competitor's founder, and I don't know if it's a founder, but it's C-level from a competitor, and they tried to do that to me, like look down on me and stuff like that. And then once we talked, they started 3-4 years ago, 3-4 years before HockeyStack started. Every single metric that I care about is better than them. Revenue, growth. I don't really care about funding, but he cares about funding. Funding is 2x higher. Anything that I would care, logos, team's quality, I don't know, growth rate, press, anything that you want, anything that you care about is better than that competitor. He still tries to look down on me, which probably happens to you as well. But in the real world, it doesn't really matter. And then actually the people that you would care about, like customers, your advisors, investors, they love it. They love the story. They love vulnerable, real stories. And I have been, I think, and to some certain degree, insecure about it. And you told me, hey, I learned about you from the podcast with Rev Genius. The first thing that I thought was, shit, like I talk about all this stuff on his podcast. Now he knows. But then any person, everyone has a different story. I think everyone should be happy and proud of who they are.
Totally, man. And to be honest, I think for a lot of people, and especially Americans, there's a lot of Americans that have a lot of prejudice against people that have an accent or just, not native people, basically, for a reason. And, I've gotten around that really well because my English, it's good and I don't have an accent or anything. But still, my hair and everything, like there's always that little scrutiny. Nowhere near as big as yours, I think, probably because of the exposure. But yeah, again, in the real world, what matters is competence. And you said it. If you have the best technology, you have the best talent, you have the best funding, the market doesn't care about age, right? And okay, so last thing on the personal side that I wanted to touch on is if you how do you internally deal with pressure at the personal level in terms of, as a C-level executive now of a high growth company, is there, I guess, advice too, if there's anything that you would say to that, and how do you handle usually just in general pressure and stress and whatnot?
Yeah, so there are different parts of it. I think I felt, the last couple months especially, I've gone through so many things that most people cannot even imagine. I don't know, really big deals, team changes, hiring people, growing the team, doubling, tripling the team over a couple months, dealing with a lot of things with the board changes, Series A, all that kind of stuff. And I think the thing that helps me is having a few people in my life and at HockeyStack that I know anything that happens, if we lose all of our customers tomorrow, I have 4 people that I know we can start from scratch again. So anytime that I feel pressure, I know worst case scenario, I will start from scratch, 0 customers, $0, 0 funding, and I can do it again faster than anyone else, better than anyone else. So it's just the other part of it, I think what you said is worse in Europe. I'm from Turkey. I lived in Europe most of my life. In America, it's, I think, accent and stuff like that. People don't really care about that much. And the best thing that I learned from my time in the US the last couple of years is basically no matter what happens, no matter what the situation is, people believe that you can start all over again. And that doesn't really matter. As long as you don't die, hopefully you don't, you can start all over again. That's what keeps me sane. And then more tactical stuff is having an executive coach, having a therapist, and having people that you love. Those are the things that helps me in my day-to-day. And then one other thing that I believe, and I try to do it for everyone at HockeyStack, especially in the leadership positions, is I have for myself, I always had a sales advisor, I always had a marketing advisor, and I always had a leadership advisor for myself, because I sit top of marketing and sales. We have a VP marketing and we have a VP sales. So I work with them and then marketing and sales roll up to me. So I had marketing, sales, and leadership advisors. And then I have people for our leadership team that would help them. So it's the same thing for our team as well. I think it's a mix of those things, having people that you can lean on from professional and personal standpoint, and knowing that you can start all over again.
Well, that's okay. Interesting. Okay, so I'm not going to ask you what is HockeyStack because I already know, and most people listening to this probably know already too. But why is it not just an attribution tool, but more so it's you call it a command center for revenue teams? Say it's a revenue or go-to-market platform. And if you want to bring in a comparison to make it easier to understand with other software in the attribution space or other categories, would you say is there something out there that it's comparable to HockeyStack?
Yeah. So the reason that we're trying to move away from attribution is attribution by definition means attributing something to something else. It's usually dollars to channels, dollars to touch points. And it's not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is giving marketing and sales teams visibility into what exactly is different for the prospects that turns into deals or like turns to customers versus the ones that don't. So you can replicate those buyer journeys and channels and tactics and touch points for more prospects and more customers. So traditional attribution software is like Visible, Full Circle, Dream Data. It's like we had a case study with Active Campaign. Chris, with their director of Dimension, said something like with Visible and other tools, you can make up an argument and then you can prove it by changing the tool. Like, I want to show Google Ads have 10x ROI. I'm sure you can do something on Visible to show it that way. That's not our goal. Anyone that comes to HockeyStack and that says, I want to buy HockeyStack so that I can show my ROI, we don't sell to them. Because in the long term, I know it's going to turn into something like Visible, where like in 10 years, people are going to say, well, HockeyStack sucks. Why? It's showing, I don't know, bullshit ROI metrics and financial metrics that no one cares about. I don't want that to happen. So HockeyStack, in its essence, is a data product that captures the entire buyer journey in a different way than other providers do, because we don't rely on lead objects fields from traditional CRM software. We track it ourselves, put it on our buyer journey, turn it into dashboard so that you can see channel, campaign, touchpoint level, what works, what doesn't work, so you can get more out of that with funnels, reverse funnels, tables, pie charts, anything that you want to have within HockeyStack. And the differentiator is it's totally customizable and flexible. We have a report builder built into the platform, which you can use to build any type of report. On the other hand, this was the main reason we were not raising money when Bessemer came to us. The main reason that we raised and the main reason that we thought this is the best time is because we are now, hopefully end of September to mid-October, we're launching 2 new products. One is a sales intelligence product, one is an ABM product. Now I think how I see attribution is a core product that tracks all the buyer journey stuff, all the touch points, turns into dashboards. Then you can use the same data set for ABM and for sales intelligence. So sales intelligence product will have AE and STR dashboards, iframes in Salesforce, account summaries, prioritization, account scoring, lead scoring, signals like job postings, leadership hires, website changes, website traffic increases, LinkedIn signals, everything will live on HockeyStack. And then ABM will be display ads, LinkedIn ads sync, ABM campaigns within HockeyStack that you can launch and then sync with other platforms. Then everything will run on HockeyStack, which has been our main goal from the beginning. But this is why we don't categorize it as an attribution platform. But I still think attribution, no matter what it means to people, it is still going to be a core part of HockeyStack in the long term. But it's not a platform that you can come in and say, I'm going to show Google Ads to have 10x ROI. Show me.
Wow, it's going to be extremely powerful. Are you going to do it like pricing is going to be modular, or is it going to be all in one and you got to get the ABM tool, or like, well, if you can speak on that, I guess.
Q1 of next year, we will have add-ons. So you'll buy attribution platform. If you want to add ABM, sales intelligence, data warehouse sync, all that kind of stuff, you can have like a package. starting next year of Q1, you will be able to buy them separately. So I don't want the attribution platform, just want sales intelligence, and you'll be able to buy it until Q1 of next year.
Cool. So you mentioned a lot there about the new two products and what's coming and whatnot, which I love the vision, like the centralized command center, like having the buyer journey mapped out. And from there, you can take actions, you can build the ABM platform, and you can build whatever. So that's really, I mean, I never thought that you guys would build it. So really great. Then let's talk about, because you mentioned that, right? Like LinkedIn ads, signals, job postings, website changes. I want to talk about the shifts that we're seeing in signals these days, how different it is from what, marketing used to track or keeps tracking still to this day years ago, and that is not representing the full buyer's journey. My take from analyzing this a lot and listening a lot to, Chris Walker, you, and many others that talk about the signals and whatnot, it's the fact that I think we're moving from a black and white absolutes and centralization world where you either filled in the lead gen form or you didn't. You either visited the website or you didn't. You asked for a demo or you didn't. It's black and white. It's an absolute, and it's aiming to be centralized, as in, you gotta show us the signal from this place, right? Or else nothing matters, right? I don't care that you visited a bunch of other stuff or that you read our blog for 2 hours. It doesn't mean anything because they care about the diligent form, right? And now we're moving to a world where I think signals are a little bit more decentralized. Right? Well, while with HockeyStack and other tools, you can centralize it, but it's scattered now and it's shades, it's relative. You got to put them together to get the actionable insight. What do you think of this, and how is HockeyStack helping map out that buyer's journey when it's increasingly becoming more complex as we speak, and putting all those data points together?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think overall, like a challenge with most of these platforms, as you also said, is like black and white. So it's like Google Ads is working or not, if LinkedIn is working or not, I don't know, blog is working or not. But we have one part in our documentation that says everything in sales and marketing works to a certain extent. I'm sure everything that you do in marketing works. It's just like, is it worth it? When does it work? At what stage of the buyer journey? How can you make it work? How much should you do that? Stuff like that. Like everything, cold email works to a certain extent, even if it's like one book meeting per 10,000 emails. LinkedIn ads works, even if it's like, I don't know, $10,000 per account. So I think signals, I think the biggest miss right now with signals is companies that are providing signals don't really know if those signals help the customer. So you surface signals, anyone can do that, but you don't know historically if that helped the customer acquire more customers. If it's like signals for marketing or sales, does that really help move the needle? Because they don't track the buyer journey. It's a signals platform. HockeyStack, we'll be able to do that together with our buyer journey platform, which will show like the signals we're collecting, but then they don't work. They don't really do anything. So you don't need to focus on them versus these signals that worked. So that's what's going to be different, but I'm sure there are a lot of companies that are going to launch when I think it's going to be hot space. It's going to be a trend. Then I think the winning factor is going to be the buyer journey and how much of it do you know? Like even like the biggest problem with review platforms, for example, review platforms tell you, hey, these companies are looking for you and then searching for you on the review platform. Then if you chat to them and if you win that business, the review platform don't really know that you want that business from the review platform because they don't have access to that. Same problem with companies that are surfacing LinkedIn insights and website insights. They don't know if those insights work. So that's going to be the main problem. But I think in the future, right now I see a lot of interesting companies that I would love to get into HockeyStack to a certain extent, hopefully.
Totally. I think though, like you mentioned, the insights as if insights work by themselves. And in a way, I think there's also a lot of responsibility from the user to make them work. It's like, I can
Yeah.
tell you that this happened. Like how you action on it also matters a lot too, right? Don't you think?
Yeah.
But still, though, I get your point. Like the fact that it's not documented, like how has it been working for the people that are using these insights or this data and having no visibility over that? Of course, that's the miss. I agree with you on that.
Yeah. Or like, yeah, you should also have access to like what the customer did. I think the feature of it is going to be these are signals that we surfaces what the customer did. This is the result. It can be like a customer problem too. They get the signals, they don't do anything, or they get the signals, they do the wrong things. I think the future is going to be that for sure.
Yeah, I agree. It's just that we were super early to it, and there needs to be a lot of activity and a lot of data to be pulled and analyzed to come to those conclusions. But what as we grow, like as the space grows and more people and products like yours keep growing and collect all of that. I mean, you guys are already doing a great job, I think, with the hockey stack reports. Using all of the data that you guys deal with to drive thought leadership in the best use of the word, I think, to guide people like, hey, we're seeing this, we're seeing that. And I think that's really great. Regarding, there was one thing signals. Oh yeah, you mentioned like a lot of companies are surfacing signals. Just wanted to add, of course, because you cannot. I think a lot of the miss too in signals is thinking that you can just buy from a bunch of different providers, and because you get a ton of data points, then your sales process all of a sudden works and you have product market fit, right? Like, well, it doesn't work like that, right? Like it's you gotta have something that people want, and most importantly, I think a lot of companies should be prioritizing harvesting their own signals and not just trying to buy their way into knowing what the buyer is thinking, and rather just attracting them in the right way so that you can get to know firsthand, as you did when you started, right? Like 500 calls, that's the way you know what the market wants, right? So yeah,
Exactly. And then the
go ahead.
on the labs thing, I think labs definitely was a huge success. I think one thing that we missed the mark on that we're working on right now is how can we make our data actionable and useful for the end people. So like people who are reading the reports. The biggest feedback that I got, I actually like 3 weeks ago, I sent voice notes to people on LinkedIn that I don't know who were commenting on my posts about labs. I sent them voice notes separately, one by one, asking for feedback. And the biggest feedback has been, okay, like this works, that works, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. But it's more like reports. It's really hard to make this amount of data useful without making them silos. It's like one report is about ABM, one report is about Google Ads, one report is about content, one report is about a live demo. It all is siloed. Now our focus with Labs reports is I'm actually building a separate team to get this data into a useful format, to make it useful, hopefully in real time, that you can go to our website and check it out yourself with real-time data, and also turn them into some kind of not playbooks, but frameworks to think about the market quarter over quarter, year over year, to understand everything together based on ACVs, based on company sizes. What are the winning companies do? That's my focus. That's one of my main priorities for end of this year to mid next year. There's going to be something that we're focusing on with a separate team within HockeyStack's marketing team. And we have a lot of work to do, which I'm super excited about.
That's awesome. That's really great decision. I think it was needed. I was like waiting, not like that. I felt the same way when I was reading the report. Like, okay, but now which is fine. Like I do, I can connect the dots together and draw my own insights. But the fact that you guys are thinking of doing it in a, live, like it's updating constantly, and you get the insights, and you're building a separate team for that. That's amazing. Talking about, I mentioned before the 500 calls that you got at the beginning, which was your first big touch with the market to figure out what people wanted and then build it. From there, and now you guys are raised the Series A, got into YC, whatever, top investors. You grew really fast in a really short period of time. And you told me that most of your customers were coming from both you and Budra's LinkedIn profile, right? I know that a small percentage of your strategy, at least a year ago, was SEO.
Yeah.
And together with SEO and LinkedIn organic without spending a dime. I'm sure you guys are now spending some before, like it was all organic. That was your go-to-market strategy. You made it into YC and you broke into the enterprise segment as well, right? With this go-to-market
Yep.
strategy, prioritizing the founder brand, prioritizing posting content, being active, etc. Tell me about that. Why you decided? I mean, it came naturally to you, I guess, because you were already in the feedback loop
Yep.
of talking to the market, building product, shipping fast, whatever. But what made
Mhm.
you double down on it? I guess, and how are you seeing? Yeah, compared to other go-to-market strategies and other options, especially when you receive funding, right? Like, you're gonna have. Let's hire a sales team. Let's drop a bunch of money on ads and whatever. So yeah.
Yeah. So what we did is we first started with LinkedIn. So the thought process there was basically it's the fastest place to get feedback from. And then in the meantime, we were building like the product, and then we were also building like go-to-market strategy and stuff like that. That's how it started. Then what happened was we got success. We became successful on LinkedIn, and then we started getting our customers, like the earliest 10, 15 customers. Then we got into YC. Then at that point, we started investing in LinkedIn ads. So it started with like 10, 15K a month. Then we made that successful and ROI positive. Then we started diversifying. So first was LinkedIn social and LinkedIn ads, then we got into Google, then we got into events, then we got into dinners, then we started sponsoring stuff, we started doing influencer partnerships. So it was like step by step. Now our marketing mix is close to like 55-60% LinkedIn, 35% of Google, and then like maybe like 30% Google and then 10% Bing. On the performance marketing side, then we have influencer partnerships, dinners and events like 3 and 4 SaaS inbound. We have happy hours and events like that. And then overall, we try to do almost every 3 weeks one dinner for like CMOs and CROs in tier one cities like San Francisco, where we are located in, New York, Chicago, where we have customers. That's a big part of our strategy, especially upmarket. And then we actually just started SEO again with Gaetano. He has been helping us with SEO. I think that's going to be successful as well. So now we have diversified marketing strategy with like 6, 7 different channels. But in the very early days, which I think every startup should do, it was founder brand and supporting that with ads. So the best thing about LinkedIn ads, which you probably know, is you can reach the same audience from social and ads together. So what we were doing with me and Bura, we were like launching ads and seeing people who are engaging with our ads, then connecting with them. Then when you connect with them, because you post every single day, they see your content. Then over time, you reach them from both audiences. And back then, we didn't have thought leadership ads. Now it's even easier. You post and you put money behind it. Suddenly, people see your posts. So that was our strategy. I think if I start again, I would do the same thing. If my audience is on LinkedIn, if it's like, I don't know. I mean, I have also friends, founder friends, that have successful companies. They build hardware. So if you're in hardware, you don't need to do that. But if your audience is on LinkedIn, you should definitely do it.
Well, thanks for the validation right there. I mean, totally agreed. I mean, of course, right? Like, it's no secret to anyone that it works and why it works. I know part of the high velocity growth at HockeyStack was due to the fact, and you mentioned this, I think, at an in-person event too, which I couldn't find the recording ever, but I think you were talking, it was an in-person event in a panel or something, and you mentioned when I got into enterprise, and it was a big deal for me, but I knew I had to do it because, of course, that would fuel the growth of HockeyStack, and that was the only piece that was missing. And I didn't have any previous experience. And I think you mentioned Nate, maybe, that he helped you a lot in that, in tapping into the enterprise. So tell me about that experience. Like, how did you tap into enterprise? What were the first steps? Because, of course, like, the entire sales process needs to be really, like, it's a whole different thing, right? So yeah, tell me about. And did anyone, was this an idea from your investors? You already thought about it, or yeah, tell me.
Yeah, so we didn't have like enterprise. One of my favorite quotes from who I worked with closely. He was my sales advisor. He still is. We are both really busy, so we don't talk that often right now. But he's awesome. He was the first day at Outreach, then became VP Sales there over like 6, 7 years. Then he was a CRO of Calus, which got acquired. Anyways, Mark once told me that enterprise is a company initiative, not a sales team initiative. So to win an enterprise, you need marketing, sales, customer success, expansion team, account management team, engineering, your investors, everyone on the same board. Every single person needs to work on enterprise. Like we have one deal right now, which is one of my biggest priorities, a public company that's all over San Francisco. Everywhere that you go, you see the same company, which has been a logo that I've been working on for a long time. And like to win this logo, basically like, I mean, it's gonna be a close one soon, but over the last 7 months, I introduced them to our investors. I introduced them to our head of customer success. I introduced them to my co-founder CEO. I jumped on 10 different calls with their SVP finance, SVP marketing ops, all of their junior marketers, everyone. Nate did 12 calls, one of our AEs. Like, I tried to visit them in person. They were not in office. But anyways, like everything. It's a company initiative. We brought engineers to build a custom demo. Every single thing needs to be on the same level from the company. So what happened with enterprise is in the early days, like building a company and building any type of company, especially a high growth startup, is a set of challenges. So in the beginning, it's like, can we build pipeline? Yes, we build pipeline. Can we close the pipeline? Yes, we build and close the pipeline. Can we hire people? Yes, we hire great people. Can we afford hiring people? Yes, we can afford hiring people. Can we get everyone on like on the same pace? Can everyone work hard? Yes, everyone works hard. Then it's like, can we expand customers? Yes, we expand customers. And an enterprise is one of those goals where, as a leader, you get asked, is this company, is this software, is this product a product that companies can pay $100,000, $150,000, $200,000, or is it going to be an SMB product? There's nothing wrong with the SMB one. HubSpot is a great example. SMB, public company. But enterprise is something that makes the company more valuable. And then the other thing that I learned, YC has this great stat. I don't know if this is public or not. Maybe. If it's not public, yeah. I'm going to basically the premise is companies, startups that do enterprise sales, if it's an enterprise software company, if they start doing enterprise sales in their first 2 years, they are 10, 15, 20 times more likely to succeed than others that wait more. So that was like eye-opening, and then that was a challenge that I needed to tackle. And then I was lucky to, our business has been very inbound marketing driven until this year. So we had a couple deals that came inbound. There were 6-figure deals in the early days, and winning those deals gave us the confidence that we can go after more enterprise, especially they're like coming inbound. So we have some control over it. Like you can target enterprise companies and you can do ABM campaigns, all that stuff, but you don't have that much control over inbound. We closed them, and then we have seen the first-hand kind of like sales process for HockeyStack for enterprise. Then that gave us the confidence to go after more, which then we controlled. Like we can do partnerships, we can do outbound and stuff like that. Now, actually, our enterprise segment make up all of our revenue, which is similar to a lot of companies, like even like public companies like Salesforce, stuff like that. They have like a small enterprise segment that makes up a lot of the revenue. It's the same for us. And our product works the best with mid-market enterprise because we need data to make it work. So that's how it worked. And if you're a founder, if you think you need to do enterprise sales, first start with your small circle. So identifying like who can be a fit rather than just going like cold outbound. Identify them, ask them how they would want to buy. If they would want to buy, great, you will learn it. If they don't want to buy, you can learn, like if you have never done enterprise sales before, especially if your team you have like an AE or like VP sales or someone that did enterprise sales before. Still, enterprise sales is different from company to company. So you need to learn. For example, you can go to a company and ask, hey, I have this product, as you know. If I want to sell it to you, how you would buy? They would say, I first need to go to this person to get their approval. Then I need to schedule this call with this 10 people then that needs to go to CMO. Then CMO probably will say no. And then CMO will come back to us and we'll need to convince the CMO. So you would learn. I think that's really useful because even like I think the biggest mistake that founders do is like they hire VP sales that's an enterprise sales before. They come in, they set up the same process and it fails because it's a different company. So yeah, I know that was a long answer, but it's something that I've been working on a lot. And I'm really passionate about it because it makes or breaks the company. So I hope it was useful.
As you should. It sounds, I mean, it sounds amazing. Because of course, like it's, to me at least, I have this tendency to like a lot of the things. As they get more complex, I like them more, like for some reason.
Yeah.
So yeah, enterprise sales is one of those things, of course, even though I haven't sold enterprise at all. But it's just, I know I've tasted a little bit of it, and when you move a little bit up market, even in mid-market segment, it's already you get the feeling of, oh, this is dragging too much. Now I need to talk to this person. Why like all that stuff. It got me a feeling of it, and sure it's tedious, but then how damn good it must feel when you close that deal, right? Like after the dinners and after the meetings and after the demos and after what you said about putting the entire company working on that deal. That's just priceless. So keep pushing. You're going to get that deal, and it's soon to be closed one. I don't know which logo it is, but yeah.
No, I was just going to say, once you feel like that initial feeling, if like I did all this work, then I closed, I don't know, $175,000 with one deal. That's like such a good feeling that probably at some point every great salesperson has felt. But then as a leader, the hard thing is, now you need to serve that customer. So like if you're in sales, you sell it and you're done. My role is servicing that customer as well. So there's a lot of things to learn, but I think it's really useful if you're a founder or someone that needs to get into enterprise at some point.
Totally. But again, it's what you said, right? I liked how you put it because you mentioned all of the areas that need to get involved in order for an enterprise deal to happen, and how it's also about engineering, especially with a product like yours. And just every product, if you're selling enterprise, engineering team needs to be there, not only for the regulations and compliance and whatever, but also to build the product so that the enterprise can use it in the way that they want to. Otherwise, they're churning, right?
Yeah.
It goes, it's for the same for every type of customer, but for enterprise, it's even more important, right? Because the deal is bigger, there's more use cases, more people involved, whatever. Now, to wrap up, I know, like, I wouldn't be surprised. I have to say this. I wouldn't be surprised if HockeyStack becomes a billion-dollar company someday, or even goes public at some point. And, I wouldn't be surprised because, again, you mentioned it, which that was an interesting stat, by the way, like 10 to 15x more likely to succeed if you start enterprise sales in the first 2 years as a startup. That's a crazy stat. I didn't know that. But not only because of that, I think you're getting a lot of things right regarding the GTM, the partnerships, the talent, whatever. But my point is, of course, I'm assuming you're seeing HockeyStack going to that milestone. Are you like, how do you think about taking it public like a few years down the line? Because I don't think it would take that like not less than 10 years for sure. And how do you think about this? What is your vision?
HockeyStack will go public in 2030. In 5 years. It's my goal. I think we're on the right track. Definitely, it's my priority. It's my goal. It's why we started HockeyStack. It's been a message to all of our team, all of our investors, and everyone else. It's my main goal. And this coming from someone else that I really know makes me really happy. So thank you so much. Really appreciate the kind words. It's like, it's different if it comes from your, I don't know, girlfriend or like mom, and like, yeah, they would think that, but it makes me really happy. And I am fortunate. I'm really lucky to be receiving messages like this every single day on my LinkedIn. Like at least 10, 15 times I see it. And it makes me really happy. And it's like one of the best feelings as a leader to have people and support and community and everything else. Our goal is to build the operating system, the brain, the command center for B2B revenue teams so that we can be more efficient with all the applications and extensions of the core data product that we have. It's going to start with ABM and sales intelligence on top of it, but it's not the end. We have a lot of other products coming in line that's going to be built on top of the buyer journey intelligence that we already have. And we will continue to be the fastest innovating company, fastest growing company in the space. And we will have a lot of features that other companies can copy and make their company successful too.
Awesome. Well, I'm flattered that it meant something that I said it. So yeah, it's no worries, man. I mean, I just take it because I just see it. I see it. And it's not only about the go-to-market. I think, the most visible thing that you guys are doing right is the go-to-market. The fact that you're all over LinkedIn, that a lot of people, every time I post about HockeyStack, man, those posts get the most engagement. Trust me. Like you know what I mean? Like most of my highest performing posts, they're with Camberg, from the podcast that we did. So, and I'm not, for the record, I'm not affiliated. There's nothing like, there's no deal here. I'm just, I like to bring the people that I think are doing great work. And I think you guys are doing great stuff. So that's why I said, but I think, this conversation as well, and a lot of the content that you publish and the reports and everything goes to show as well that, I haven't tested the product, but I can vouch for it because from everything I know about it, I can tell you there's few things, if anything, that come close to it, right? Because of what you mentioned as well. I like the way you put it. It was so good because I didn't know this. I didn't know the background, and I'm sure a lot of people didn't either. The fact that it was built for product analytics in the first place, and that makes it entirely different in its backbones at the fundamental level to all of the other attribution tools that are built upon, that are built for attribution tools for marketing analytics. That is such a way more simple thing than product analytics, right? That doesn't have the depth that's needed in terms of tech infrastructure. So I think that's a really great point. And, that goes to show, right? I mean, one of the 5 most common factors for superlinear returns, according to Paul Graham, I think it's the proprietary technology, right? So you guys are getting it. You guys are getting the network effects and many other things, economies of scale at this point, most likely, especially with the Series A. So it's just, a lot of factors together. And man, if you make it, I'll be there too. Congratulations, because 2030, going public, you'll be 28. Right? That would be a great start of a promising career. Let's just leave it at that.
Thank you so much for all the support. This was a great conversation. And for you and everyone that's listening, let me know if I can help with anything on LinkedIn or email.
Emir Atli, you know where to find him. Yep.
If anyone listens to it, we are hiring Director of Dimension, Head of Revenue Operations, Performance Marketing Manager, and Content Writers for marketing, sales, AEs, SDRs, AE managers, all types of roles. I don't think engineers or customer success people listen to podcasts. So anyways, you can go to jobs.hockeystack.com or careers.hockeystack.com, something like that. Or if you can go to our website, company, there's a careers page. We are looking to hire a ton of people who wants to do great work at HockeyStack. So yeah, again, thank you so much for your time and conversation, Will, and all the support. Yeah, looking forward to doing it again, hopefully at our next milestone.
Sure thing. We'll be there for it. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for listening to the FounderVideo podcast with Will Martin, and we'll see you on the next episode.